All right. Well, good morning.
Can we redo that whole conversation now that the recording changed?
Dale, well, you have to start with your complaining.
Fuck off.
I felt attacked. You attacked my commitment. What is this? How dare you? No, it's your turn, Gary, because you're reading.
Yes.
I
What
could
are the
read
levels
also.
of
It doesn't.
teaching?
No, Aida estaba hablando. I was talking to my sister, and she was saying that she wants Gary to read too.
So you have a
My
fan
sister
base.
in
I have
Rhode
a fan
Island
base.
was watching us, and she was talking to me, and she was telling me that.
So she can better her
Gary
English?
has to. No. She likes when you talk.
Ah. I'm going to
You
read
have a
now.
fan. Okay.
What are the levels of teaching? The teachers of God have no set teaching level. Each teaching, learning situation involves a different relationship at the beginning, although the ultimate goal is always the same: to make of the relationship a holy relationship in which both can look upon the Son of God as sinless. There is no one from whom a teacher of God cannot learn, so there is no one whom he cannot teach. However, from a practical point of view, he cannot meet everyone, nor can everyone find him. Therefore, the plan includes very specific contacts to be made for each teacher of God. There are no accidents in salvation. Those who are to meet will meet because together they have the potential for a holy relationship. They are ready for each other. The simplest level of teaching appears to be quite superficial. It consists of what seem to be very casual encounters, a chance meeting of two apparent strangers in an elevator, a child who is not looking where he's going running into an adult by chance, two students happening to walk home together. These are not chance encounters. Each of them has the potential for becoming a teaching, learning situation. Perhaps the seeming strangers in the elevator will smile to one another. Perhaps the adult will not scold the child for bumping into him. Perhaps the students will become friends. Even at the level of the most casual encounter, it is possible for two people to lose sight of separate interests, if only for a moment. That moment will be enough. Salvation has come. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching, the universal course, is a concept of meaningless in reality as in time. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. In time, the teacher of God seems to begin to change his mind about the world with a single decision, and then learns more and more about the new direction as he teaches it. We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seems to be something different. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate that these levels cannot exist is simply to say that any level of the teaching learning situation is part of God's plan for atonement. And his plan can have no levels, being a reflection of his will. Salvation is always ready and always there. God's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. Each teaching learning situation is maximal in the sense that each person involved will learn the most that he can from the other person at that time. In this sense, and in this sense only, we can speak of levels of teaching. Using the term in this way, the second level of teaching is a more sustained relationship in which, for a time, Two people enter into a fairly intense teaching learning situation and then appear to separate. As with the first level, these meetings are not accidental, nor is what appears to be the end of a relationship a real end. Again, each has learned the most he can at that time. Yet all who meet will someday meet again, for it is the destiny of all relationships to become holy. God is not mistaken in his Son. The third level of teaching occurs in relationships which, once they are formed, are lifelong. These are teaching, learning situations in which each person is given a chosen learning partner who presents him with ultimate, unlimited opportunities for learning. These relationships are generally few because their existence implies that those involved have reached a stage simultaneously in which the teaching learning balance is actually perfect. This does not mean that they necessarily recognize this. In fact, they generally do not. They may even be quite hostile to each other for some time and perhaps for life. Yet, should they decide to learn it, the perfect lesson is before them and can be learned. And if they decide to learn that lesson, they become the saviors of the teachers who falter and may even seem to fail. No teacher of God can fail to find the help he needs. Amen.
I love how that ends.
The last one, I couldn't help but think about the stories that have arisen about Bill and Helen. That third, the way they didn't get along for all those years, except brief moments. And there's a poem, I think it might have been a Mary Oliver poem, that she talks about those chance encounters that they speak of in the beginning of that lesson. I'll see if I can dig it up. It's very similar.
Yeah, this for me.
Eso es para ti. Yeah, that's for you,
Yeah,
dear.
I really love this.
Lifelong.
See, I love this passage because it's, to me, it's really beautiful, and it's very moving. And while you were reading it, I became really moved because I saw the connection between like our previous the conversation that we were having before we started to record, and this, and yeah, when it talks about no chance encounters, and it seems to be speaking in levels, right? Like you'll have these chance encounters, supposedly chance encounters, but there's no accident, of just casual encounters with people. And I remember the time that I spent several years traveling every day to Washington, D.C. from Baltimore, and I had to get on a train, a commuter train, like an hour there, an hour back. And during that time, I had this passage, or this part of the course. I remembered it, and because I did have those encounters that is talking about, these casual encounters where you learn from other people, and what you're learning is that you can see the reflection of God's universal love in each person and in each encounter. And then you have it possibly what seems to be a more sustained relationship with some people, right, for a period of time. And I also had that experience in my life where I was doing um, I was going to Washington D.C. to work on temporary projects, and some projects lasted a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, a couple of months. But you start to have this period of time where you have these sustained relationships with the other people that are working with you, right? And then it talks about these supposedly lifelong relationships. And what comes to mind is obviously my relationship with Adriana, my relationship, my partner relationship, and it talks about how it can be hostile and it can be lifelong hostility.
Yeah.
And also, you were reading all this, and this is all that was coming to mind, right? And a renewed appreciation for all those opportunities that I had. And obviously, what came to mind also was that my encounter with you was not chance either, and I remember, and I specifically remember because before you got to the monastery, Gary, we had been there for, I don't know, for like I think a week or so.
A couple
And
weeks, yeah.
yeah, and so our group had become pretty much solid, right? So and I remember when we were told, that you were coming in, initially it was like, oh, someone else is coming in. And then I thought the feeling that came after that was like, not, I don't want to say premonition, but it was like, And I asked, what was his name? Gary. Okay. And that just like, okay, I think that, I didn't think much of it, but there was a feeling, there was a feeling you coming in that was a feeling of possibility, like of joy, right? And yeah, and then everything just becomes really, really beautiful in each relationship, even if things start to feel, situations come up that are sticky or that are uncomfortable. I'm present for that. I'm like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to talk about. This is the forgiveness, because I want to get to the love, more quickly. I want to get to that, to the peace and to the love, more quickly. And I think we're clear on that. The commitment is not in the personal, right? And this is something that's really subtle, and it's hard for me to explain. But at the same time, my commitment with the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit commitment is with the sonship, is with everyone. And what happens is this huge appreciation for every person, every figure that comes in, because you see it as an opportunity to see the love of God in each person. And they're bringing you that gift. And so all of a sudden, everyone becomes, like Adriana says, everyone becomes just beautiful. And everything is beautiful. Because you start to see, truly, correctly. And you start to overlook the ego judgments or the ego perception. It comes in, and then you overlook that because you already know what comes after me doing my forgiveness, and which is basically overlooking the ego's perception, is the infinite love of God in the other person. And then once that happens, you just feel complete gratitude and appreciation, and compassion for everyone and for yourself.
Mm.
I don't know if I explained that. So this passage I really, really love, because it really puts into context our relationships in the world. Like, what is the purpose of their relationships truly? And it tells you that ultimately each relationship that we fabricated, that we made up with the ego, its destiny is to become a holy relationship. And we already know that the only holy relationship that exists is with the Holy Spirit. So when you have that holy relationship, you recognize that all of your relationships become holy. There's no other way, because there's only one of us. And that way you can be in a situation where it seemingly looks on the outside that the person is attacking, or that you're being attacked, and that you don't feel it, and you don't see it that way.
Again, more of where I was coming from, just to clarify, was to get clarity of what that comment meant. So, and I also want to say, there's a power and there's a potency when you come from your heart, Astrid. When you speak from your heart, as you just did, there's a power there. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, of course, because it's not coming from the
Don't do that.
little person.
Don't do that. I'm just informing you that when you speak from your heart, there's a power there. And just let that be. Just let it in. Don't overlay it with coarse material. Just be present with that.
So you're saying that she not always talks from her heart.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that when she comes from the heart, there's a power there that is. We can just leave it at that. Take what you will. That's just the words that came up.
I appreciate that.
I heard a statement that I've experienced throughout this life, and it came up again this morning, that truth is found in the gaps between words, the gaps between notes. That's where truth is found, in the silence.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to say it. Yeah.
And to me, often it's felt like that's where intimacy ends up being from. Not in the words, but in the silence. True intimacy.
Yeah, because talking sometimes can be a way of shielding us from intimacy.
Yeah.
The ego doesn't want us to get close. It tells us, yeah, this is what you want. You want, you want intimacy, you want to get close. But in reality, it goes back to the ego saying, yeah, seek, but don't find. We already know enough about the ego's plan and the ego's tricks and the ego's blueprint of how to, it's a thought system, right? That we know that, and we don't want it. We know too much. Because the prayer of our heart is truly to be in love.
Yeah.
Adriana, did you find the necklace?
I forgot to search for it. No,
You have been talking.
No, I didn't. The answer is no.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get. And when we connected before, I was telling Adriana that I had a memory that came up in my mind of something that happened, probably 15 or 16 years ago. I made this necklace and it had turquoise and other things in it, and I had given it to her. And I was telling her this memory of this necklace. I don't know if you still have it or not, but this memory came up in my mind, and it was really beautiful because something that had that a gift that was given years ago, what came back in the memory was just this huge reflection of love.
Mm.
And I could see how it was brought back to me through that memory, that symbolism. Everything is just symbols. But what came back to me was just an expansion of love.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one memory that triggered that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, I'm gonna go see if I can find the necklace. She didn't know if she still had it or not.
Nice.
And that's when memories are then reinterpreted and transformed for us to just bring us love.
Yeah.
Because the necklace at the time that I gave it to her had some other meaning that we had imposed upon it. And that's been washed away. So those are like what I think that we were talking about, like the creations of light or something like that. Was that what came up, Adriana? Esas son como las creaciones de luz, the creations of love.
No me acuerdo.
Our true creations. Yeah, she doesn't remember. The true creations, it's all love. Everything else is just washed away and everything is brought back to its simplest form and to its true form. And what's great about it is that it's not, it includes everybody. It's just, it seems to be like a memory that only involves me and Adriana, but everything else is washed and then just the love is there and it can include everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an experience. It's hard to put into words because words are part of the duality of the world, right? The world duality.
Be quiet today, Adriana.
Yeah, I don't want to cause any drama. I'm going to keep quiet. I will only talk when asked. I'm going to behave.
No. Tú habla, Vic.
No, I'm thinking about what to say, and I really have nothing to say. I'm good.
Okay.
Sí.
The only thing that I can say about this question that we asked is that if you read all that passage, you will get to understand how it is impossible for us to understand anything. And since we are already saved, I don't know what the fuck what we're doing here. Something like that, you know, to question the ridiculousness of what we are trying to attempt when we are trying from the personhood.
Mm-hmm. Sí, from the personhood.
It's impossible. That's it.
Nice to hear from you. Nice to hear from you, Adriana.
Surrender all the shit.
But it goes back to what you were saying. Like we're using this as an excuse, basically. Like it doesn't matter what we do. We come in, we do this, but it's more of, you know, just to come in and just disfrutar, like enjoy.
Exactly.
Enjoy the moment. Sí.
We don't know what we're doing.
No.
That's the beauty of it. When we can accept that we don't know and just be still and be happy. Because at a moment, I wanted to ask you, Gary, how long you were thinking about this commitment thing? Hours?
No, yesterday morning after we hung up for a little bit, and then just this morning before we got on.
Okay, good. The less, the better.
Sí.
And my sister Ida, she said that she was glad that we convinced you to change shirts.
Change what? Shirts? Oh, for God's sake.
She said, alas.
Puerto Ricans, man. Loco. Just for that, I'm going to wear it the rest of the week. I'll wash it first, though.
We won't know if it's clean or not.
No, I will. I'm talking about me.
Pues saludos a Aida.
Sí. Yeah.
Thank you, Aida. Aida is Adriana's sister.
She the one who lives in Florida, or?
No, that one is in Rhode Island.
Oh, Puerto Rico.
Oh, Rhode Island.
Oh, Rhode
Island.
Oh, excuse me. Every time you talk, Adriana, it sounds like there's popcorn popping.
Is it
It's raining?
It's raining.
Oh, it's raining. Oh, okay.
Yeah, she has like this aluminum
tin roof.
Roof right there in the
Okay.
front of her house.
And it's very noisy here. I have my neighbors with the music and they are dealing with cars and stuff. And
I only heard the popcorn.
Loco.
Sí, solo se escucha la lluvia y tú. We can't hear the rest.
You see the dirty thing?
Sí.
Sí.
Lo que vimos fue el techito y los árboles. Sí.
Little joy for the birds and the bees and the...
Flowers in the trees.
everything.
Perfecto. I'm good.
Okay, me too.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. And yeah, mañana es Three Kings Day, ¿verdad?
Tomorrow's Three Kings Day. Yes.
Three
Bella.
Kings Day. Oh, it's Puerto Rican holiday.
That's a full holiday here. And children get present in the morning like Christmas.
So are we gonna meet?
Sí.
Of course.
Yeah.
We will never
Tommy.
leave you out. It doesn't matter how offended you feel.
The fuck up.
We
God,
love
man,
you,
get
Gary,
off
till
of
the
it.
end of time.
Get off of it. All right, you two. Have a great day.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, you too.
Vamos.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.